thrill me.
This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
It's Review It Man, reviewing what he can. Movies are his jam, so let's get twisted, man. It's Review It Rob.
Hey yo, welcome into a brand new episode of the Review It Rob Show. Appreciate you joining in. This week we're going to be talking a horror movie, a new horror movie that came out this week, last week called In a Violent Nature. That is currently in theaters, so I'll give my spoiler-free thoughts on that. As well, I'm going to be talking news in the horror realm, as well as all other stuff going on around movies that I found since the last episode here, man. So we're going to have fun with that, but without further ado, let's jump into this movie. Again, it is called In a Violent Nature. It's now playing in theaters with a runtime of 1 hour and 34 minutes. It's a horror mystery thriller film that is the trifecta of awesome. So, when a locket is removed from a collapsed fire tower in the woods that entombs the rotting corpse of Johnny, his body is resurrected and becomes hell-bent on retrieving said locket back. He hones in on a group of vacationing teens responsible for the theft and proceeds to methodically hunt them down one by one in his mission to get it back, along with, of course, anyone in his way. Slasher, baby. It is a slasher film. So what are my thoughts going into the movie and what are my thoughts coming out of the movie? So going into it, never saw a trailer, never really read a synopsis for the movie or anything like that. I saw a post about it being a film shot in the killer's point of view. So Johnny, our killer in this movie. So it's going to be shot in that point of view. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Point of view, like first person video game style or something like that. Cool, whatever. I haven't really seen any horror movies like that before. I know like the first Friday the 13th kind of gives you stuff like that. And there are horror movies. I mean, we've got Chucky's point of view in some of the Chucky movies. And of course, I'm sure there's plenty of other horror films as well that have done that, but it's something that hasn't really been talked about in a while, of that way of a film being shot, right? So that was cool, interesting aspect going into it. Again, kind of got the feeling that it was going to be a slasher film from like photos I saw and all that stuff. So I was interested going in. I'm like, okay, this is different. It's a horror film. I love horror movies, so obviously I'm already going to have some kind of fun in it. So went in there into the movie, and the best way to describe this, and hopefully you'll get where I'm going with this. It is a slasher film, so you already kind of know what you're getting into, like a slasher movie. If you're not aware, slasher films are a genre of horror movies where pretty much there is a killer that is going around slasher people, right? So it's basically the type of movie we're getting into here. So, and the main thing I think people have kind of wanted to know about the movie is, what is this viewpoint? What is it like? And I'm going to say it's not necessarily from the point of view of the killer. It's more of, use a video game reference again, a third-person view, right? So if you played a video game ever in your life, you know the third-person view is you've got your character in front of you, main center screen, and you're like hovering behind them, if you will, camera-wise, and you're following along with them on the mission and all that stuff. And the best way to really describe this is if you've played the Friday the 13th video game, which, you know, if obviously playing as Jason, not one of the survivors, right? So if you're playing as Jason in that game and you're in third person view, you're right behind the killer and you're, you know, Jason's stalking around in the woods and all that stuff, and he's finding kids and he's killing them and all that stuff, or teens or whatever, because that's easier than kids. So it's like that. That's what you're looking at viewpoint wise and all that. So it's cool. It was a cool concept. It was an interesting concept. A lot of walking in the movie. Not as much as like a Lord of the Rings movie, but a lot of walking and stalking and all that stuff, which is part of what you get in slasher films. We don't necessarily ever see the killer's point of view this much in a slasher film. Normally it's like, oh, he's right there stalking in the corner, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's here right in your face, right? So it's, you know, it's a new, interesting kind of viewpoint. Kind of, right? It's not going to be for everybody. Let me go ahead and throw that out there. This is not a movie. Already, if you don't like slasher movies and violent movies, you're not going to be into this, and this movie is rated R. So if that stuff like makes you squeamish and all that stuff, you're not going to like the movie. And some people are not going to like the idea because it's like a weird documentary. You know, it's not a documentary film, like it is a slasher film, but I mean, it's like that aspect of your like following right behind the killer through the movie, right? And so it's got that walking through the woods and hearing, leaves crumble and branches crack where the areas that he's walking in and all that stuff. But it's interesting, it's cool, it's different, right? It's something we don't see a lot of. I know like big time horror movie fans have probably seen like unknown horror movies that've got stuff like this maybe. That's awesome and cool. But for me, that's something kind of fresh and all this stuff. And I'm a horror movie fan, but I haven't done like super deep dives, and I could. I've got Shudder and Screambox, and if I had the time, I would, obviously. But that was cool. It was an interesting concept. So I like that concept of the movie, and I like the way it worked with the kills that you see in the movie. Which, my goodness, it's there are some gruesome kills for sure in this movie. I mean, the movie called "In a Violent Nature," you would expect some violent kills in this movie, and they do have some really violent ones. I can't tell you how many kills or anything like that. Don't want to spoil anything, obviously, or I won't tell you what the kills are. But let me tell you, man, there is a kill in this movie that is gruesome as hell, that is just insane, right? Like, I'm not like freaking, I don't even know if Saw's done something like this, but it was an insane freaking moment in the movie where the killer just does this thing with the person, and I'm like, all right, that is violent. That is a way to kill somebody. In a violent nature. So they did the deed there. So again, the movie overall, story wise, I gave you what the story here is killer comes back to life because a locket that is close to the killer was stolen. This you know brings the corpse back to life because it's been removed from their rotting entomb, and then he's going after to get his freaking thing back. So, you can feel how you want about that story. Stalker slasher movies don't necessarily always have the best storylines involved in them. Some of them do have really good ones. Some of them we're just watching it to see the kills, right? So, story's fine. Nothing, over the top. Nothing we haven't seen before. Nothing insanely uh, Oscar baity or anything like that. This is a straight up slasher movie. You're in it to see this new kind of cool, new to you maybe, point of view of the third person video game Friday the 13th style. Walking, you've got camp stuff, you got really cool kills in the movie. Some that are just, like I said, very violent, and a violent nature is the name of the movie, and it fits. And overall, I thought I enjoyed the movie. Is it going to be top 10 for me throughout the at the end of the year? No, probably not. But not even probably not. It won't. But that doesn't mean it wasn't an enjoyable time and a good time. And if you're a horror movie fan, and especially a slasher movie fan, you're going to enjoy this. You're going to have a good time with it. You're going to enjoy the not necessarily awkwardness, but the weirdness of just walking behind the killer and seeing the killer's point of view, and the stalking and what goes into that and all that stuff. So it's got its interesting moments, again, violent kills and all that stuff. So if that's what you're into, you're going to enjoy the movie, man. It is a Shudder film, so it is a Shudder movie. If you don't get to see it in theaters, you will be able to see it sometime later this year on the Shudder app, which I have always stood up for and said people should get. It's like $6 or $7 a month. Tons of horror stuff on there, movies, TV shows, documentaries, all kinds of fun stuff. So Shudder's obviously good for you there, but if you haven't seen it in theaters, it will be on Shudder at some point in time this year. Don't know when. I don't know if it has that 45-day, 90-day release time frame or what, but it'll be there at some point in time. I'm trying to remember, because Late Night with the Devil was in theaters for a little bit, then went to Shudder. I don't know the time frame off the top of my head between those two, but that was also a Shudder movie. So you can probably gauge between those two, but the movie did do well. It made a good amount of money in the box office this week, which kind of a slow box office week, not really anything coming out. So you could either see Furiosa again if you want to hear my thoughts on that. That was last week's episode. Garfield was number one this week, so people who saw Furiosa last week instead of Garfield saw Garfield this week. But the new movie that came out was In a Violent Nature. So that was my thoughts, man. If you did end up seeing it, let me know what you think. Thought of it in the comments. Enjoy it. Do you know what kill I'm talking about? Let me know what you thought about that as well. If you saw the movie. If not, check it out, man. Go support horror in theaters. Go to the theaters because nobody's freaking there anymore, apparently. So sad stuff happening with movie theaters, but what can you do? So different world we live in now. And the only way we can make theaters interesting again is if it's a big budget movie so it doesn't get spoiled online, which is just a terrible thing to say, and I hate saying that, but that seems to be the only way, unless it's something big and interesting, becomes a big event like they did with Barbenheimer last year. So it's gotta if you want theaters to stay alive, you got to go out there and support them. I know it can be annoying. I know it can be expensive and all that stuff. I know it's ridiculous that the movie will be out in like a couple weeks now, it seems, but go to theaters. Go to theaters. Just don't go on like Fridays or the weekends now that it's summer vacation because you know. But going from the horror movie thoughts, let's jump into some horror news with a lot of big things happened news-wise. Two big stories to talk about. I've got three stories, but two. You know what I'm saying. So the first thing is finally we've got some clarification on something that has been wondered for a while with this Max prequel series called Welcome to Derry that they are doing. Of course, this is the prequel series to the It films. So the biggest thing we've all been wondering with this is, will Pennywise be a part of it? Where is Pennywise going to be? Will Pennywise be anything to this show whatsoever? And will Bill Skarsgård be back to play the role that he played in It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2? And that has finally been clarified with the fact that, yes, Bill Skarsgård will be set to star and executive produce the It prequel series, which is currently being called Welcome to Derry. That is, from what I understand, a working title. We'll see what it ends up being called at a later time. Welcome to Derry seems fine to me, but if they want to change it to another name, make it fit, that's cool. But yeah, this is good. Like, Bill Skarsgård was awesome. I know there's like some kind of battle online about Tim Curry and Bill Skarsgård. They're both freaking fantastic in the ways they played the character. It's just more of a preference, I guess, to you. But both of them were awesome, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm glad Bill is back to do the role. Probably the fact that Boy Kills World did not do too well this year. That's another story. But, it's good to see him back in this. I loved him and his portrayal of Pennywise. It's good to know that Pennywise is part of the show, because I think anytime we think It and that town and all that stuff, like, Pennywise is always in the back of our mind. It'd be very weird to not have Pennywise there, right? Kind of like the Gotham show. Like, the Gotham show won a couple of seasons, but at the same time, it's like, where's Batman? How are we gonna have a Gotham show without Batman? I get it. It worked for a while. I enjoyed some of the episodes as well, but I'm like, where's Batman? So, and I get it. It's just kid and all that stuff, but nonetheless, well, so there you go. If you're wondering if Bill Skarsgård will be back as Pennywise, yes. Will be how many episodes? If it will be in every episode, if it will be just the last episode, every other episode, don't know. But nonetheless, it is something to be happy about with the fact that Bill Skarsgård will be reprising that role of Pennywise the Dancing Clown in the It prequel series currently titled Welcome to Derry. That will be hitting Max. All right. Other big news that happened since last time we talked here is that the Exorcist film. We have been wondering what is going to happen with the Exorcist franchise since Believer did not do too well at the box office last year. Now, I've been on record plenty of times, and I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. Exorcist Believer is a fine movie. It's a enjoyable movie. It's a good movie. My brother saw it with me. He's not a huge horror fan. He enjoyed it. I've got friends who are big horror fans that loved it as well. So it's one of those movies that's going to be hated on either way. It's a staple franchise in the world of horror. So anytime something's being done with a staple franchise, and I guess there's a lot of carryover hate with David Gordon Green because of Halloween Ends. So that movie was not going to be successful on social media whatsoever anyways, but to me, very much enjoyed it, and I loved the house at Halloween Horror Nights even more. But we were wondering what was going to happen with the Exorcist franchise. We knew David Gordon Green wasn't going to direct the second one. I think it was called Deceiver. Exorcist Deceiver was what it was going to be called. And now, apparently, not even apparently, now that has been all scrapped, because we now have, who is awesome, done a great job with the stuff we've seen him do, and I have all the faith and trust in the world in Mr. Mike Flanagan, who is now writing, directing, and producing the next Exorcist movie, which will be a completely new Exorcist film. Will not be attached to the trilogy that they were doing. I don't believe it's attached to the original Exorcist film or anything like that. We're still under the ways. What we do know is that it is, quote, a radical new take, is what it's being quoted as for the news that has come out with Mike Flanagan joining Exorcist. And again, I like his work. I've enjoyed several of his things that he's created. I don't know, I'm sucking with words right now, but I enjoyed the stuff he's done on Netflix and all that stuff, with like the haunting shows, right? The Haunting of Hill House, the Haunting of Bly Manor, the Midnight Mass show, right? I haven't seen the Fall of House Usher or the Midnight Club, but I assume they're good as well. And then, of course, Doctor Sleep, which is awesome. It was a highly underrated movie. Um, so yeah, he made Ouija Origin of Evil, which was much better than that other one, right? People love Oculus. I need to go back and watch that. So he's got a good track record. Like I can put trust in him to lead a franchise, which I love. The Exorcist. That first Exorcist movie is easily top 5 favorite horror films for me, if not like top 3, right? So I I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he does with it again. And this is not coming from somebody who's like, man, that last Exorcist movie is so terrible. I'm just glad to have another one. No, dude. Like I enjoyed the last Exorcist movie. I enjoyed pretty much all the Exorcist films. So it's like, and I loved the TV show. So it's like that's a wheelhouse that I'm a fan of. So having him on board and seeing what he's done with other horror things, to see him take on this route, he's done religious horror, so he's got a background and a vibe around there. So I got the faith and trust in him, man. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. Last bit of horror news here is that Universal Monsters modern movies are continuing with a rumored The Mummy prequel on the slate next. So the Universal Monsters films have been getting a modern take, if you will, and have been coming back in big bad way. You know, The Invisible Man did fantastic, and they've already announced Invisible Man 2, so they're working around there. Um, so we've got that. It's in development. It hasn't like officially been announced, but Elizabeth Moss said that they were working on a. It's becoming more of a reality than ever. So they're working on that. We have the Wolf Man, which is supposedly coming out at the end of the year. Maybe it's been pushed to next year at this point. Who knows? But that's still happening. We had Abigail come out earlier this year, which was bloody fantastic. Saw it twice in theaters. Absolutely love that movie to death. I mean, I can't stop thinking about that movie. I loved it so much. We've had Lisa Frankenstein, which came out this year, which again, different take, right? But it's a Universal Monsters adjacent kind of feel. We've had Renfield, Universal Monsters adjacent kind of feel. We had The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is related to Dracula. So the Universal Monsters are back, and they're working on all kinds of things over there and trying to make things and all that stuff. Before that, we had The Mummy in 2017, which some people hate. I love that movie to death. I don't understand the hate for it. They're like, oh, it's too much of a Tom Cruise action movie. Dudes, go back and watch the Brendan Fraser movie. Just as much action, if not more action, and there's more horror in the Tom Cruise movie. And I'm not the only one saying that. Just Google it. You Google The Mummy 2017, it says horror. You Google The Mummy 1999, it says action adventure. So you tell me which one's the action movie and which one's not. How about that? But nonetheless, I enjoyed that movie. Dracula Untold before that. So they've been working on all kinds of things. Universal Monsters trying to get things up and going. In the Dark Universe, maybe didn't work out, but it seems like they're doing a Dark Universe right now, and they're just not calling it that, right? Because they're doing all these new movies, fresh takes, and all this stuff. There's a Frankenstein movie in the works, if I remember correctly. There's still a Bride of Frankenstein movie out there somewhere. You got to hit Creature at some point, right? Because I mean, you've already got all these other things. You know, you've got close to Dracula movies. You've got the Wolfman coming. You've got a Bride of Frankenstein movie around here. You've got all kinds of this stuff happening. And now The Mummy apparently getting a prequel, which don't know if it's a prequel to, you know, the original film with Boris Karloff. Is it a prequel to the Brendan Fraser ones? Probably not the Tom Cruise one with the way people were reacting to that one, but I'll take it. Dude, just give me a Mummy movie with all of it connected, man. Why not? Like, just fun, right? I feel like at the time that Mummy movie came out, people hated Tom Cruise a lot, and that had something to do with it. But you look at it now, people are like, oh, you know, Tom Cruise is like one of our last remaining stars of a different time of Hollywood, and Top Gun Maverick was a big, bad, awesome movie, right? So I think the thing has turned on Tom Cruise and all that stuff. So I don't know. You know, social media is a stupid world, anyways. But it's cool that they're doing another Mummy movie. I've enjoyed those Mummy movies. If it wasn't for Dracula, Mummy would probably be my favorite freaking Universal monster. So why not? More power to them. If they want to keep working on these things and knocking them out of the park, go for it. Because I've had fun with these movies, man. I've had a good time. You know, with all of them, right? Like I can't really think of any of them I didn't enjoy, um, especially here recently. And again, Abigail, brilliant movie, so brilliant, man. It'd be hard pressed for that movie to be beaten this year for me, but we shall see. We've got some things releasing later this year, but nonetheless, I'm excited for another take of the Mummy. I don't know if we need a prequel. Prequels are always it's a weird. We freaking last week Furiosa was a prequel. We really didn't need it, right? We really didn't need that movie. It was fun for what it was, but like we didn't need it. Prequels are hit and miss, man. So we don't need a prequel to the Mummy. Just do a Mummy movie. Why not? Just have fun. Do a Mummy movie. You want to bring Brendan Fraser back? You want to bring Tom Cruise back? Fuck that. I love Tom Cruise, but bring Sofia Boutella back, right? So, like, if you want to bring all that back, you want to do a mashup of all of them, cool. Prequel, I'm gonna see the movie. We already know this. That's already guaranteed. But I don't know if we need a prequel. I don't know. All right, so that is horror news. DC, normally mandatory talk on the show, but nothing to really talk about DC-wise. They're over there doing their business right now. Superman is underway with its filming, and their Peacemaker is starting up, Peacemaker Season 2 and all that stuff. So they've got stuff going over there, just nothing new to talk about. We talked about the latest news with Lanterns and all that last week, so we're up to date on DC. But of course, it's mandatory every episode, so stay tuned. There will be more DC news to talk about at some point. All right, other bits of news before we get out of here. We're going into the Jurassic realm for this news here. You know me, Jurassic Park is my favorite film of all time. I do enjoy that franchise. Much people like to shit on it. I've enjoyed those movies. So we are getting back into the realm of Jurassic now, a couple years after Dominion, and building up a cast over there. We've already heard that Scarlett Johansson is reportedly attached to star in the movie, and we now have Mahershala Ali, fantastic actor, two-time Oscar winner right there. So we've got Oscar-winning actor Mahershala Ali joining as well for this Jurassic movie, which is currently set to release next year, July 2025. So that's what we call a summer blockbuster movie. Superman, how close is that to Superman? Because Superman Legacy, that's just Superman at this point now. But Superman Legacy also releases next year, July 11th, so the week after. It feels big, man. Let's look at that. Like this year, and I've talked about the problems with theaters are having, but like when we look at it, is there any summer blockbusters? Like this is a weird filling year with movies and summer blockbusters, and it's not necessarily just because we're not getting as many comic book movies this year, but it just doesn't feel like a big time summer blockbuster year. Maybe I'm missing it, but it doesn't feel like it, right? So next year we've got these big movies already lined up, but let's just look at this, man. So it is now officially June, so we're looking through movies that are releasing. Like, what is the summer blockbusters? We've got Bad Boys releasing this week. That could be thrown in there, right? The Bike Riders. I'm interested in that movie, but I don't know if that's necessarily a summer blockbuster. Yeah, man, like nothing. A Quiet Place Day One, like that's there, right? I don't know if that's a summer blockbuster though, right? Like, what do we consider a summer blockbuster movie? Despicable Me 4, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, but that's gonna be on Netflix. Maxine, we've got some interesting movies releasing, but are any of these screaming out to you, oh, this is blockbuster? Like, this is summer blockbuster time? Twisters, maybe. So what's that, 2 now with Twisters and Bad Boys? Deadpool Wolverine, there you go, 3. Like, what is the deal? No, like there's Borderlands, no. Alien Romulus, maybe. Like, again, and when I'm saying maybe, like these are movies I'm interested in, that's why I'm saying them. But just scrolling through here, I don't see what is the summer blockbuster movies. Like there aren't any. Like there's like 3. There's 3 or 4 tops. So it's like it feels different, right? Let me know in the comments if I'm crazy, but like that's not screaming blockbuster this year. But next year you got Jurassic Park 1 week and then freaking Superman the week after. That screams summer blockbuster, right? Like that's a big deal, There's another one coming out around that time too next year. So it's like this year is just feeling less. But we have so many things coming that I just named that are like have the potential to be really good. So I mean, what is the definition of a summer blockbuster? So let's look it up. What is the term summer blockbuster? Describing a movie as a blockbuster began in the 1940s, and the term derived from a World War II bomb, but Jaws is credited with birthing the modern summer blockbuster in 1975. Ever since, Hollywood has leaned on the summer as the season to schedule big-budget event films. So, the summer blockbuster is a big-budget event film. Did any of those movies I just named to you, other than like 3 or 4 of them, scream summer blockbuster? Summer, June, July, August, right? So any of those, other than like the 3 or 4 I named, it's not a big year. It's not a big movie year. Next year, heck, I've already got half of those, or 2/3 of those already, with Jurassic and frickin' Superman next year. So what are you telling me, right? Like, what are we like? Do we even have, like? Let me look up movies releasing. And this is the part of the show where I just ramble on and just search stuff. So have fun. Have fun with me rambling on here. All right, let's look. Let's look. So June next year, we've got John Wick Presents Ballerina. That's a big budget movie. How to Train Your Dragon. We've got 28 years later, however you feel about that. We've got Megan 2.0 releasing on my birthday. We have an untitled Spider-Man universe film. We have, again, previously mentioned Jurassic film. We don't know what it's named yet, but we've got that. We've got Superman. We've got the Naked Gun. We've got the Fantastic Four. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, next Insidious film. So you know what I'm saying? Like, next year is feeling much bigger and summary than this year, which, again, maybe people are going to feel better about movie theaters. Maybe there'll be some uprise like back in the day with, I don't know, when music was being streamed instead of now people are buying records again, right? So something's got to happen, right? Something big has got to happen with movies, because right now, what is driving people to go to the movie theaters if you're not like a huge movie fan? It's got to be like a date night, right? Other than that, where's the point when Abigail releases on streaming 2 weeks later? The Fall Guy, fantastic movie. Both those movies, fantastic, fun movies to see in theaters. Already streaming, right? For maybe less than you'll pay going to the movie theater, right? It's what, $20 to $29.99 to rent a movie on premium VOD or whatever. So I don't know. I'm a movie theater guy. I love going to the movie theaters. Right now it's tough because of annoying people in theaters, which I get and I understand, and things can be expensive. That's why I'm glad I'm a Regal Unlimited member, pay my 20 something a month, go to the movies as much as I want. I get concession discounts and all that stuff. I get reward points to where I can get like a free soda and all that stuff. So that stuff kind of helps out. And again, I'm a movie guy. I love going to the movie theater. I love the environment. I love the deal. As long as, you don't have annoying people in there. And you got to pick a good day. That's why I like going to movie theaters on a Thursday, because a lot of people are not going to be there on a Thursday unless, again, big time movie like Deadpool. Already a lot of people scheduled to be there. And that's what we're depending on this year now. It's got to be one of those movies. It's got to be a Deadpool, and then next year sounds better, right? So we'll see how things plan out there. But yes, Mahershala Ali, excited for that. Talented actor, Scarlett Johansson, talented actor. That cast is building up very well. Speaking of casting, that's building up very well. And these movies do have a big time cast, which leads into an interesting question as well. Jeremy Renner has joined the Knives Out Wake Up Dead Man cast, and the Knives Out films always have like these big cast, right? That's always the kind of question of like, oh, who's going to be in the cast for this next one? Cast already has, of course, Daniel Craig Black as funny name. What is his name in those movies? It's such a funny name, of course, it's escaping me. Benoit Blanc, right? Benoit Blanc. Knives Out. It's Benoit Blanc, right? Benoit Blanc. So he's back, and then we've got, just mentioned Jeremy Renner, we've got Kerry Washington, fantastic. We've got Andrew Scott, we've got Glenn Close, we've got Kaylee Spaney, who is apparently just starting to blow up. I saw her, first thing I saw her in was Priscilla a while back. Priscilla, of course, Priscilla Presley. They did the Priscilla movie, and then she was in Civil War earlier this year. So, talented actress. She's got something else coming up very soon as well. Where I'm like, good for her. What is that next movie? Alien Romulus. So yeah, she's going up in a big way, man. So good for her, and she's a good actress. I've liked what I've seen of her so far. So we're good there. We've got who else? We got another breakout here. It seems Josh O'Connor, who's recently in the Challengers, and we've got Mila Kunis, who's been in a ton of things from freaking that '70s show to Forgetting Sarah Marshall to Bad Moms and so many other things. So we've got all that cast, a big setup cast for all that. So should be fun, man. I've enjoyed those Knives Out films as well. I've had a good time. They are fun. I like mystery movies. You know, they throw in some comedies, you throw in some mysteries in there. You're gonna having a good time, man. So they're fun, and I enjoy them. I'm glad they're doing more. It's good to see Jeremy Renner doing good. He had that freak accident, December, right? Or didn't know if he was ever gonna walk again or anything like that. So it's good to see him back. He's gonna be acting in this movie, so that's good to see as well. Don't know anything about Hawkeye or what's going on there, but who cares, man? Good for him to be able to survive and live on and keep walking. So and working. So that's cool, man. So fun cast there. Gonna be a good time. Nonetheless, that is a Netflix movie as well. I believe it may be hitting theaters at the same time. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but that is a Netflix jam as well. So there you go, man. That is the stuff. In Violent Nature. Did you see it? Did you check it out? Are you waiting for it to hit Shudder? Don't do that. Go to the theaters, watch a movie, man. But if you did see it, let me know what your thoughts were in the comments. Are you excited that Bill Skarsgård is back as Pennywise? What are you thinking about Mike Flanagan taking on The Exorcist Mummy prequel, or would you just rather a Mummy movie? Let's see. Mahershala Ali joining whatever the Jurassic film will be called as they go into this new storyline. And then Knives Out 3. How excited are you, man? That'll do it for this episode. As always, appreciate you taking the time to listen to me ramble on and geek out about the movies because it is something I love to do. And I love the movie realm, man. So, other than that, I've been playing the Killer Clowns from Outer Space video game and having an absolute blast. Highly recommend getting that game. But that is going to do it for this week's episode. Appreciate you as always. Remember, hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, week, month, and year. And as always, remember that happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.